on, how are you all tonight? I hope you're doing fine. Oh, I know I am. Of course, I will be colouring the picture I did last night of my character, Ultraviolet. Now I gotta share this stream. So let's see. Let's drop a link in the Discord. Let's see the rules. There, we got a link in the Discord. Let's put a link on the parlor. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Links have all been shared out. Of course, we're going to be waiting for Metal to get here, but the Vomitorium, I believe, is still going. Let's see, let's refresh dot. So, I guess we'll create a thing underneath. Let's change the size of this canvas. Okay. Of course. Let's grab the lasso and lasso our name. Who do we have here? Want to try and join again? I don't know why it. Metal, if you're listening, or whoever that was that tried to join, didn't get it in time and it went away or something. Okay, so that was Metal knocking that door. I don't know who. Okay, so I don't know who tried to come in. Hopefully they try and come in again, and hopefully I can get to them in time. Sometimes Firefox likes to be fickle, or maybe it's neat in that regard if you're not on that part. So how is everyone tonight? If everyone is doing fine. There we go. Do. I guess. Accents. So what's everybody got going on tonight? I hate that. Do it again, Metal, or whoever. trying to connect to the network. Oh, that's me. My meat is going in and out. That's not good. I thought it was metal trying to join, but apparently it was my meat just restarting up. Okay, so my room seems a bit more hollow with a bunch of furniture up here. We got her hair, because it's hair today, gone tomorrow. Okay, so we will zoom in and start from this color down to get into the edges and erase what doesn't need to be there. And put in what we've messed up in this spot area here. Hey, Metal! Okay, I should probably expect you trying to get in. Come in. How'd the valedictorian go, Metal? Okay, let's see. Here we go. So, I don't know what to talk about. Anybody got anything to talk about out there besides American election stuff and COVID? Oh man. What will be really interesting is when I down to or get it where I can pay somebody to ink and pencil and color the book. And I'm into the last step. I'd have to, obviously I get to see the pencils and then I say, hey, pass them on to such and such pencils and inks, and I say pass them on. To the colors, and then of course the colors, I gotta see them after the colors is done with them. Wow, that's gonna be interesting, dynamic to things. Slow night tonight, it looks like here, but that's alright. Probably with all the news that's happening. Uh, Hey, Metal, how are you doing?
Hello, hello.
Hey! What's up? How was the vomitorium? Although, I heard a bit of it.
Having encoding issues, but other than that, it's fine. I recorded it. So you put it in audio form for the people who listen to it, but at least that will be uninterrupted because I was recording on my end.
Yeah. Well, it's bad because of the, well, it's good that the one will be uninterrupted, the audio. The other stuff being interrupted is not good, but, there's not a lot you can do about it, right?
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the live interaction, but it is a podcast, so I do kind of care about the audio format more than the video.
Yeah. Understandably. Oh. So how was your day?
People weeks to prepare, and most people came up with their answers for our best of 2020 at the last minute.
Yeah, I meant to do that, but I forgot.
There was a couple I had to come up with what I would have considered last minute, which was last night.
Yeah.
That's why I couldn't get you that reference image that I was going to get you. But I had my homework done before today.
Yeah. No, that's all right. Maybe for next week. Who's next week? Ozona, actually.
Yeah. Well, I need to have that one drawn anyway.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to draw it within the next few days.
Yeah. Next Tuesday, I will be drawing her live on my channel. Oh, did you get to look at what I did for my campaign?
No, I didn't get a chance to look at that yet. I still have it obviously in the messenger. Like I said, I've been busy setting up for this show and stuff like that.
Oh heck, I've even added something since I sent it to you.
Now I'm eating this really dry chicken. I'm sure it was moist when it was made, but on podcast days, the stuff's being cooked while I'm podcasting, so I don't get it until hours later.
Yeah.
But thankfully, barbecue sauce can solve half of that problem. My mouse cursor suddenly decided to disappear. Yeah, it does it sometimes with OBS. I think it's a video memory related problem where the mouse disappears.
Trying to figure out where it is. I hate this. Okay, there we go. Well, you can probably see the thing.
Oh, I can see it.
So yeah, I chose a $500 Canadian flexible goal, which is about 396 American. So
it's funny because isn't 500 the lowest goal you can make, right?
Yeah.
But it's an arbitrary number if you're not doing it in USD because 500 means so many different things in different currencies.
Yeah. Well, it could be. Not much. I'm just showing a little bit off of my campaign, which I'm going to launch tomorrow night on After Dark. the Cross Comics coloring book. I'm in the middle of coming up with a new cover. I was just going to use the image there and wrap it around front and back. I'm going to come up with a new cover.
Yeah.
Thank you for stopping by and checking out my project. Last year I funded and fully fulfilled my comic book, The Canadian Shield #1, while waiting for The Canadian Shield #2 and my next hero comic book, Snowdrift #1, to be done. I thought I'd bring this fun project of coloring book to you so you can get to know some of the Cross Comic characters a bit. The Cross Comics coloring book will have a minimum of 40 interior pages. Each will have a quick history on their page unless they have more than one page. A variety of people have contributed to the art. Most of the pages have been done by me. I have chosen a flexible goal of $500 Canadian so that if I don't get to the $500 goal, I'll be able to still get the coloring book out to people. And one of the tiers has that you can get the book, art book pages that I had done from the. So I put up, and that I limit it to 20. So I put up a choice of pages for the 11 by 50 art. And then here are some pages from the book. Obviously, you got some pages right there too, but
yeah.
So they get good look at a bunch of the pages. But here's some with the lettering on. Some done by there's Flybox Pro. There's the coloring page that John made up for the testing for coloring Canadian Shield #1.
I remember that one.
I figured it'd be neat to put that in, And then, I want to thank everyone for their support. If you're unable to back, please share it with all you know. The tiers I've only got like 4 tiers. I'm not sure whether I end up making a 5th one or not. $3 Canadian for a digital version. $7 for Canadian for the coloring book. Plus shipping. Coloring book plus a sketch card that is inked and colored, $12 Canadian. And the coloring book plus an 11 by 15 piece of art, $40 Canadian plus shipping. And the coloring book, of course, is going to come signed. So. I know it's not anything spectacular, but what do you think?
Let me think about that. I don't know. Mostly because, I'm definitely not the target audience for something like this, so I might not have a good clue whether this is good or not.
Yeah.
Because even when we were trying to do it with John, it's like, in my mind, a coloring book, while parents love them, they're great for kids, and you having a family-friendly, all-Christian book is probably better set than our mildly risque coloring book that we made.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, a coloring book seems like a hard sell because I'm not the audience for it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the thing is, I'm not planning on making a lot of money off this. That's, that's a good thing. Yeah, my real reason for doing the whole thing to begin with is just to see whether if I do Indiegogo trying to get, fundraising Canadian funds, will I get the money in my bank easier?
Yeah.
But you gotta say, you can't really just say that in the description and all that. So you gotta come up with some other stuff that could be equally as true.
Oh, Rick, you want to hear some bad news?
What?
I have to delete the recording that I did on my end from the podcast today, and I have to just use whatever got recorded. because it stopped due to the encoding errors after like an hour and a half of the 3-hour podcast. So I only have like half of it.
Oh, that's crap.
Yeah. Apparently the audio was fine the whole time too. It was just the video, so should be okay.
Yeah. Is it more content for your comic book career? Says
No, it is more content for your comic book career.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be another project that I've done and fulfilled, so, you know. You know, there's that, so that's good. I hope you add it to your website so they can buy Canadian Shield #1 and the coloring book. I'm not
Eventually,
sure.
if you have left over.
I wasn't planning on buying a lot of extra for the coloring book. Well, it depends on how good it is, you know, how well it sells. What I might do is, after the campaign's done and all that, is I just might put it up on Amazon, you know, for, I don't know, $5.
Like a print on demand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can still technically put on your site. You could just either get a widget, because Amazon does let you do widgets to embed it, or just have a forward link to the Amazon page.
Yeah. That's probably what I think I might do. Or, you know, somewhere like that that has the quote-unquote print-on-demand option.
I don't know of any other place that does it for coloring books, but there might be a site that specifically does print-on-demand for coloring books.
Yeah.
I have a site that does specifically print-on-demand for cards, but they don't do booster packs yet. They only do decks. And I'm like, man, I'm going to have to, when I get my card game going, I'm going to assemble my own booster packs and sell them to people.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think it's Kablam, right? They do print on demand, right? So
for comic books specifically.
Yeah.
Like, Kablam will even let you print your novel there, but only for personal sales. They won't let, print your novel on demand. It's only strictly the comic books, because the comic books go print on demand through Indie Planet, which is a comic book site.
Yeah.
I know, because that's how I sell my physical copies. If anybody wants one of any chapter of X Animus Chaos that's been finished, you can find it on Indie Planet. Subtle shield.
Yeah. It's close to. Well, it's the size difference. It's similar. Well, I don't know. I'd have to look into.
Well, it's not about the size; it's the format, right?
Yeah.
They only actually want sequential art storytelling on that site.
Yeah.
Now, I probably will be selling the manga after I get the print file ready. I only need a couple more pages and it's done. On Indie Planet, so you'll be able to get that there too.
Oh, that's good.
And they do print manga specifically. They do comic size, manga size, and they do magazine size. And they'll print it in either direction. So if I tell them that it needs to read from right to left, they will print it in that direction like a manga would be.
Cross, why does ultraviolet look like yogurt? Yogurt, like the thing you eat?
Do you eat a lot of purple yogurt? I mean, maybe if you eat like children's yogurt, maybe a lot of it's purple.
Or do you mean yogurt from, what's the spoof thing?
Looks like she's melting in the sun. Oh, you mean like Master Yogurt from Spaceballs?
Yeah. Although wouldn't think she looks like.
No, she does not. When will now be then? Soon.
one day, Timothy once says, one day he'll be a big shot like Dillard, the 11th game. Yeah. Well, hopefully by the time he prints, he's at 12 or 13. He's got to draw up the Twilight, Polar Twilight, and he's got to color that, and he's got to finish coloring. What's this book? The Buckler. What's it called?
Ascendancy?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ascendancy. I was thinking that.
Yeah. He's colored. Yeah. Actually, and this isn't secret because we talked about it live on air, so he probably doesn't care if I say this. He's actually trying to contact somebody else to color the Polar Twilight one. See if he can save some time. At the moment, he's trying to get in contact with Pope Raven because Kat already said she's too busy to do it. Like, with her schedule, she might be able to do 1 page a week. And it's an easy style to color, but, like I said, if you're busy, you're busy. There's nothing that you can do about it.
Yeah.
And he didn't even think about Pope Raven until Marsupial brought it up on air. But yeah, he's looking for somebody else to do it. And I don't blame him, he can knock out the colors. But it's still time, and he's got plenty of stuff to work on. So if you can outsource it, do it.
Pope Raven did take a little bit of time in coloring, so Pope Raven did a great job. I'm not going to say that, but he did take a little bit of time. So
yeah, well, if he starts now, maybe he'll be done by the time John, who takes a lot more time per page to color the Buckler, the main story, Ascendancy, he might actually be done around the same time.
Yeah, might.
That's assuming he says yes in the first place.
Yeah.
But at least he doesn't have to worry about somebody just, putting birds all over his coloring.
Hey, I only put those birds in the background just to fill up. Because Pope Raven seemed to have done more just a lot of flats.
And maybe a cell here and there.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, because at least from what I got from Dillard, right, it sounded like that's what you were going for, because it sounded like you were going for a Golden Age book. And Golden Age books are almost entirely flat with maybe a half tone here and there.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going for I still wanted the colors to look dynamic. I didn't, yeah, there's some of the storytelling, maybe it's more Golden Age. I in a lot of ways I want. No, I'm not colorblind. Why do
Sometimes it feels like it.
I just have a different sense of style.
And with that, Mel is off to bed. We thank you for your service, Mallet, for your once stream criticism. It is very valued here, at least by me.
Rick is just ahead of his time. I guess I'm trying to go for, well, I said it sort of my original, my first campaign. Well, I want to try and, get the best of all the different ages of comics. I don't, I do want the colors to be dynamic, and I do want them to be popping. I'm not sure how anybody got the idea that I wanted them to be.
Well, here's the problem, Rick, right? You have to color things in the way that matches the style of the inking, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that just don't work together stylistically from the different ages, and one of the reasons they did things the way they did is obviously because of printing restrictions back then. Yeah. There's only so many colors that would show up, and even then, certain colors couldn't necessarily be right next to each other because they might bleed into each other, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And there's some things that even try to get the best of all both worlds with a lot of this stuff is you just have to pick one way or the other. You know what I mean?
And hey, Bullet, Elric says, I thought about the first time I watched Force Awakens when Rey said the Force closed her eyes, she was going to lose against Kylo. I was expecting her to say, the Force. Okay. You're going to design that 3-color palette, right, Cross? I'm not sure what you mean.
He says for this character design, you're going for that 3-color palette design, right?
Yeah. Well, there's
like where the color scheme for a character is like 3 colors. You don't really go more than that.
Yeah. She's got a lot of purple in there. I guess the violet. The violet.
The word ultraviolet, yeah.
Hey again, Sketchbook, and hello, Humphrey Bear.
Well, the problem is one of these colors, really, other than the hair, actually 2 of these colors, but for the clothing, one of these colors definitely isn't in the range of violet, right? Because violet is closer to the blue. One of these colors is clearly in like the magenta range almost.
Yeah.
Right? There's like a pinkish purple.
Yeah, well, you know, so fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of people have, I think especially when I was coloring this character for the first time, was calling, violet, was it violet? Purple, or I forget what color. Nobody was saying purple. They were saying some other.
Yeah.
Thing. It's like, but that's purple.
Yeah. Well, and if you look, you look at the rainbow spectrum. Violet is the first true purple that you get, but still on like the bluer end. The Reggie Biv, it's indigo and then violet. Yeah. And violet is still actually more of a blue. That's why violets are blue. That's it. It's like, well, no, violets are blue. That's what the term originally meant. It's not like, why are the purple flowers blue? And it's like the deepest blue you can get before going off of the normal natural spectrum, which ends up being purple.
Okay, also, Sketchbook, what made your day crazy? Tim was saying lopsided boobies.
Luigi Biv.
And Alric says, I'm not that knowledgeable about comics. I know 3-color palette was part of the superhero design. Purple Rain. Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons the 3-color palette was part of the design is, one, you can easily make something iconic and distinguishable with that. But, again, because of printing limitations, you needed to separate parts of the body, and you needed to make colors that weren't going to necessarily run into each other. So if you have Superman, whose main colors are red and blue, which actually are colors that really don't go together, but they're not overly saturated, so it works. They use gold to break up the colors in the older one, so it's like red, blue, and yellow. And that would be his 3-color design, and you get that a lot. Batman even has yellow added into it, because it's mostly kind of like a blue and a gray originally. Like, the blue, I think, is supposed to represent black. That's why black cape Batman isn't uncommon. But unless you inked it, you really couldn't go black back then. You had to have a color. So it was like blue and gray, and there was like the yellow around the symbol.
Yeah.
They also did things like Hulk wasn't supposed to be green, but, the color they wanted would run. But green worked, so let's go with it.
Another thing most people have to realize, too, a lot of I was coloring these originally in paint. MS Paint.
Yeah, well, you've got a lot bigger of a palette now.
Yeah.
With more true colors, things that are less saturated. I mean, even in paint, you could pick different colors, but when you zoom in, you find out that the mid things were actually a combination of two color, almost like a halftone.
Yeah.
You just have to get at the pixel level to see that. But you've got a whole spectrum of color to pick from now. You don't have to use your paint colors.
Yeah. The problem is I'm so accustomed to the characters and those colors.
Yeah. It's 2021. Just imagine all the new colors that were released this year. You know, that you joke. And while some of them are just so subtle difference the human eye can't really tell, it is possible that there could be more precision towards color with better monitors and stuff. Because we do technically have more colors available in making now than we used to. And that just comes from more display and even in printing, if you can mix the colors better. But it's getting to the point that it's so precise and subtle that it really doesn't matter. Like, you can't tell the difference between 0.1 and 0.2.
Let's see. I was thinking the same thing, Timothy. This is why, even in the color pages of manga, they get high enough ranks. Or it's a special chapter, have simple color designs. This is why I use that. I like Naruto's, his colors are orange and black. And if you get the first season, orange, black, and white. And then if you ask some people, orange isn't even, or black isn't even a color, or white.
Well, in printing, black is K, right? Which is kind of like all the color, and white is the lack thereof. But it really depends on what you're working with. Are you working with like colors, like adding color or subtracting color, like light, to whether one is all colors or none, and it's vice versa the other way around?
Yeah.
DMYK, yeah. The cyan, magenta, yellow, and K is black. I actually forget why black is labeled K. I'm assuming it's some word that is the same. It's been so long since I've looked into it. I originally did my whole webcomic in CMYK because I intended to be able to print it later. And I did a horrible job with that, especially realizing that most people use digital colors for printing now, like the RGB. And I had to convert everything for the internet anyway. I'm like, this is stupid. I'm just making everything in RGB and fixing the colors.
Dillard's there, and he says, I think you mean CFNM.
Key. Okay, that's it. Thank you. I forgot that. And Rick, do not search that term.
Key?
No, the one Dillard put.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't planning on it, so.
Okay. Oh, just for your own sake, don't search it.
Okay. I'll take care.
You're too innocent for that.
A is for apple. K is for key. Kai or key? Or key?
No, key. Like your key color.
Yeah, I'm just reading.
Yeah, key plate, which is black inks. Yeah. No, I remember what it is now. The key plate. I forgot. Thank you for reminding me.
C is for cookie. It's good enough for me. Oh, Rick.
I actually had to take a class on printing a long time ago. But that has been, I think, over a decade at this point. No, almost exactly a decade at this point.
Timothy says D is for diabetes. Elric says C is actually for Coca-Cola. Well,
C is for cocaine.
How about we just say C is for cola? Although I do prefer Coke over Pepsi. If I can get Coke
I'm
cheap.
drinking RC.
And if I can get Coke for cheap, I usually do. But that usually means going all the way over to the grocery store and not, the local variety store.
You know why I'm drinking RC right now?
Because it's cheap?
Yeah, because you can get a 2-liter for 99 cents at your local corner store.
We used to be able to get that for that much at the local corner store. It's now over $2.
Wow. Well, I can understand that too, because some places you can still get it if they have like a specific deal with the company, the distribution. But most places there's two different labels. There's a 99-cent label and there's a $1.29 label. And with the price difference, I'm assuming you're just getting the Canadian version of the 1.29 label.
Yeah. And then, we don't even have RC here anymore either. It's gone through a different. We had COT, which was a part of RC, I believe, for a while. And that COT is COTT. And even COT's been diminished. Now we have Faygo, FAYGO.
Rick, I'm pretty sure that's a slur on YouTube. Elric, you can keep naming Coca-Cola flavors. I doubt you're going to find a good one.
The problem is, Elric, I don't think you can name a flavor for each letter of the alphabet for Coca-Cola.
Maybe if you go overseas. Who knows what kind of different flavors they've had.
Yeah. Yeah, but then you're dealing with their alphabet. You're not dealing with...
they've got translated versions, right? Now, this is a Pepsi. I don't know what Coke flavors they have in Japan, but, they've got, like, the Sakura Pepsi. So there would even be an S, but, he's looking specifically for Coke. They got all kinds of crazy flavors in different countries, and they've got English translations of them.
Yeah. Like I've seen orange Coca-Cola, the amusement park that we have here, Canada's Wonderland. One year they had these pop machines that you could basically mix and match flavors. They had so many different flavors of Coca-Cola. It was...
Oh, we got those. That's the Coca-Cola Freestyle machines?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got those in actually most Coca-Cola partnered restaurants now.
Yeah.
Like Wendy's and even movie theaters and stuff like that. I had one at the restaurant I worked at when I worked at Firehouse Subs for a little bit. There was one there. And they're cool because you just, you pick the main flavor and they've got like flavor injections. You just pick like strawberry, peach, whatever.
Yeah. The only thing I hate is like I think it was the next year they took them all out.
And while they don't have the full machine, my local pizzeria has a similar thing for Pepsi.
Yeah.
Where it's just a counter thing and you can hit it and it'll inject different flavors and stuff in there too.
Subway here has them for Pepsi. Bullet saying, yeah, most Wendy's, etc. have those as well. Ulrich says his local Jack in the Box has them.
I used to have
Sure.
to fill the ice up in that thing. Which is a pain, right? Because like a normal soda fountain, it's easy to fill the ice in because it kind of sits at counter level, so it doesn't matter how tall you are. But even like these freestyle machines are like the size of a refrigerator, so even the taller people at the place had to get on at least the first rung of the step ladder to toss the ice in there. You had to load it up from the top.
Yeah. Elric, well, I challenge you to try and do that. Create a text document, and if you can get every single letter of the alphabet, I don't know what it'll do. The English alphabet.
Q is probably going to be the hardest one.
Q and
Unless there's
Z.
some like random Chinese flavor. I don't know, man. I think Z will be easier than X.
Yeah. O will be your easy. Orange. Orange Coca-Cola.
I think that's a little high price for that, Elric.
Yeah, Elric.
Now, maybe if he sent you one of every single one of the flavors, the cost of that would offset what the statue costs for.
Well, he could get.
It would be pretty expensive to get them all, send them to you, and stuff like that.
Well, he could get one. There, you get the nice small one. Paint it.
The tiny one? Yeah. How much does that cost you?
Well, I'm not going to say on air how much it cost me.
Well, how much do you charge for that? That's a better one. I don't need your revenue difference.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what, I haven't put it up on my website yet, but I'm thinking like 40, maybe 50 American. I might even do 40 or 50 Canadian. The small one's fine as long as it's signed. Well, signed by George. Oh, and I do actually. You can't just. You do have to provide where you found the flavor or whatever.
You need your sources.
Yeah. I can't.
You can't just randomly come up with stuff.
Well, Bullet, the one reason is I would get this all painted in white. Or not all painted in white. I get it printed up in white, and then I would hand paint it myself.
Well, what if you gave it to him in just white? How much would it cost them?
35? Maybe I'll do 35.
Well, I know one of the expenses is the fact that you're basically having to get this printed up every single time.
Yeah, so it costs a little bit.
If you had a cast mold of it, it would be a lot cheaper to produce.
Yeah. You know, it's no. And then there's taking the time, and that's, you know, not including shipping either, you know. Maybe I'll stick, you know, maybe I'll do 50 Canadian, you know, for Americans that's a little cheaper, you know.
Yeah, apparently, at last minute because somebody canceled, I was invited that tomorrow, 7 p.m. Mountain, so that's 8 where I am. It's going to be mostly during a show, but it'll probably finish before we're done, so I'll probably still be on. I'm going to be on the Matriarchy, or whatever.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I've been on there before. I'm no stranger to the program.
Elric says,
I tell them all the time too. It's like I'm the backup guy. If your guy cancels, I'll hop on.
let's see. Elric says, don't worry. I will find every letter for every flavor of Coca-Cola. Letter.
Why fulfill the coloring book at a loss?
I'm not going to fulfill the coloring book at a loss. The only way that I'd fulfill it at a loss is if I only get 2 or 3. I think even if I get 10 people to buy it, I won't fulfill it at a loss. I'll probably come to breaking even.
Bullet asks, what is it? Are you talking about the show I was talking about? This is Matt Reese's show from Ideal Comics.
Well, Ulrich, I did think about going Dillard's way.
Good way to sell, but not if you're trying to figure out how to get money from Indiegogo for future products.
Yeah. Well, actually what I was gonna do was do the Indiegogo, and I was actually gonna order them from Amazon myself. Well, Mix'em now has it so you can do coloring books through them. They have a coloring book option. Sketchbook says no more late nights for him. And he says, oh, so this is a test run. Yeah, ultimately, it's a test run to see whether I can get it in Canadian things.
Yo, have you seen Mallet's racing setup? For daily?
I saw that.
Driving setup? Yeah, dude, it's great.
Yeah, I'd like to have something like that.
See, that's a pro level streamer right there.
Wow. Yeah, and I'm probably going to put it on Amazon afterwards, for people that don't get it. But anybody that's getting it through, and make sure everybody I'm launching it tomorrow. So make sure you have signed up beforehand, and you will get yourself a sketch card of Cross Comics character of your choice. So then, a 3-day campaign. No, I'm gonna do a 30-day campaign. I'd like to try and make the $500. If it makes money, it's great. If it, doesn't, No, the coloring book isn't a test. The Indiegogo, doing it on Indiegogo is a test. It's a product that I figured was fairly simple to put together. Not a lot to do to print it. It's fairly cheap to print too, so that keeps my costs down. No, the sketch card cannot be a KISS card, Bullet.
Why not?
Unless you send me, maybe if you send me extra money via PayPal before I fulfill. But it would be going to whomever's paying for it, so I'm not going to send it off somewhere else. Like I did with Pope Raven. Sketchbook card racing. Yes, Mallet has set up a real neat racing thing. Let's see whether I can see that picture. I saw it earlier. How far down is it on my Twitter? Oh, how much does it take to make a calendar? Because lots of people like waifus and huge tracts of land. Yeah, I looked at a calendar too, doing a calendar. So print cost to ship to you, time invested, and cost to ship to individual shipping material, and $7. Good luck, man. Yeah, well, that $7 doesn't include the shipping, Dillard. I am the shipping, depending on where you are. I did not include the shipping in that price this time around. Like, like the coloring book, and that's $7 Canadian. $6 to ship to Canada, 16, and these are in Canadian prices, so you got to convert it to American for yourself. $16 Canadian to ship to the States, and $23 for the rest of the world. And $6 Canadian to ship within Canada. Unless you're charging. Yeah, I am charging $7 on top of that. Just go to Office Max to get your and you got your calendar. But Amazon even pays for the shipping depending on how much you buy. Dylan says, I don't pay shipping anymore. Dylan, killer of dreams. But yeah, I thought about doing a calendar. I looked into it. To me, I thought it was a bit expensive. Well, especially if I was to do an Indiegogo for it. Let's see. Let's see. I'm going to show the gaming rig for Mallet. There we go. There's Mallet's gaming rig sketchbook.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Who do we have to ask, or not ask, who do we have to blame for this? Or, I guess, give credit to? Wasn't it Dillard that pushed him to start streaming in the first place?
Yeah.
And now he's actually, he's one of my favorite streamers to watch. Mallet's a hoot.
Dillard says, but calendars usually require images that are pleasing to look at. Majestic just to look at it. So if I do an Indiegogo forced calendar and get enough money, I can just go to Office Max and get them made. Well, I would look at how much it costs to get them made. Alric says that's epic. For the calendar, not force. So, yeah, I thought I'd show that up.
I'm glad he had an actual racing game set up on that too. Whether he streams or not, because it would be even funnier, but also sad if he was just going to use that little cockpit he set up for just driving tractors or something like that.
Yeah.
There'd be a special level of humor to it, but.
Okay, so I think I've got things pretty much as best as I'm going to get them for going close.
Somebody hammering somewhere?
Somewhere. Either that or stomping or something. That might be upstairs from me. I'm not sure. Okay, so how about I don't play any at the moment. Sketchbook. I've played them in the past. Because he says, "What racing do you guys play, if any?" Mallet's a lucky guy. I want something like that. How about a stereotype racing game?
A stereotype racing game?
I have no idea what that is.
I don't know. I'll tell you what racing game I've been trying to get into is actually my game of the year. Is Kandagawa Jet Girls, which is made by the creators of the Senran Kagura series, and it's a bunch of like busty anime babes on jet skis, and it plays like a Mario Kart style game, except with the double dash, the girls on the back shoot like water guns at each other, and you can damage each other and stuff. It's hectic. And it actually reminds me more of Snowboard Kids than Mario Kart, actually. Which Snowboard Kids 2 is my favorite racing game of all time. If anybody ever gets Snowboard Kids 1 or 2 on Project 64, we can net play. I mean, it's free to emulate. We can net play, and I'll be glad to kick your butt at Snowboard Kids because I've put way too much time in that game. Yeah, and actually, some of my oldest videos on my gaming channel are me playing Snowboard Kids against people.
Someone say busty.
Yes, I did say busty. If you would prefer the word buxom, I could use that one instead. Both are appropriate in this case. Oh, dude, they'll probably kick my butt, the world record guys who speedrun it. But I would still be glad to record it and put it on my channel. That would be a heck of a time. I would enjoy that a lot. But I love Snowboard Kids. Unless you're talking about Kandagawa. That one, anybody would probably kick my butt. I don't have like really any experience with that. I'm trying to dive into it. I like the Senran Kagura series. That's a fun one. I'm also really good at Mario Kart. I was actually, believe it or not, I was top 50 for Mario Kart DS in North America. But that game hasn't been relevant for a long time. I'm definitely not as good at Mario Kart 8. I was pretty good at 7. One of the things that get me at 8 is I'm kind of like a 150cc traditionalist. And because 8 has 200cc, everybody wants to play that one, and I don't like 200cc. Ooh, what is Carve? I mean, I totally believe that you were number 2 in the world, and I just don't know what that is. Let me look at it. Oh, the jet ski game for Xbox. See, I didn't really have an Xbox, so I think I missed this one. But that looks fun. I love jet ski games. Yeah, I had that problem with Mario Kart 2, even just being in the top 50. I think that the highest I ever made it was only 42. I never broke into top 40. But basically, if anybody who was in the top 50 was in a lobby, anyone who wasn't in it would just quit. But the problem was there's no real ranking system. All this stuff was like through forums and online connections. So you had to recognize people's usernames. And there were so many people playing the game randomly that sometimes you get people that didn't realize that you were a top player, and they would play anyway, and then they would just start, you know, or they wouldn't start, they'd stop. If they were, like, getting lapped, they would just stop, and you'd see somebody sitting there in their track like, I don't want to play this anymore.
We have somebody new in the chat named Odin, and he's asking if, I guess me or you is a programmer.
I'm not.
No. Neither. I can do a little bit of programming for my own website, that's about it.
Yeah, I have mild programming experience from college because I was diving into video games, but I'm not a programmer. If Marsupial's still in chat, he's a programmer. He commented like once or twice up at the beginning of the stream, but he hasn't in a while. People being literally screaming in voice chat about cheating.
I'm not gay either.
I was also pretty high up there in Metroid Prime Hunters, which is another game that's just not relevant anymore. You can't even play either of those games online because they used GameSpy for their like connectivity, for their internet connection for servers and stuff like that. And GameSpy does not exist anymore. They shut the servers down, but you can do net play against people directly using like Decime, the DS emulator and stuff like that. And for Metroid Prime Hunters, not even just top 50, but I think I was the only person in the top 100 that used button-only controls. It was me, maybe one other person. I think I remember there being another person there. But everybody else used the touchscreen controls. And for the life of me, I couldn't understand how anybody played that game with touchscreen controls.
Yeah, Rainbow Road was awesome, especially the shortcut was awesome and required skill and some luck to pull it off.
Yeah, Mario Kart DS I think was the last truly solid Mario Kart because there really weren't any major glitches in that game. 7, because they introduced I think it was introduced 7. It might have been in the Wii version before that. But they had tracks that were legged races instead of laps, right? So you start at the top of a hill, and you're going all the way down. So there's 3 legs to the race, and each area is different. And because of that, there were certain areas that you could fall off, and when the Lakitu would pull you back, you could skip like a whole leg of the race, and everybody would abuse it. And I think they fixed that in 8, but 8's got a lot of problems of its own. Personally, I think the handheld Mario Karts are better than the console ones on average, but everybody likes the console ones more.
Well, what do you think so far, Metal? For the shading and the lighting for just the one purple?
Well, I'm trying to figure where the lighting's coming from, right?
Well, over this way.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's not totally incorrect. If the boob is going to be that prominent on that side, you should probably have a little bit of shadow coming out underneath it, like a tiny crescent.
Right here for.
Yeah.
Okay,
if it's going to block some of the light. But,
I thought about doing that and maybe putting some up here too.
I would probably make the reflection a little bit higher up if the light's coming from there. It doesn't necessarily have to wrap all the way down the bottom of the breast.
Yeah, well...
it's definitely better than normal. I could say that.
Well, see, I wouldn't make it too much higher, because the light is catching right here, so maybe it's about here.
Yeah.
You mean jumping tracks, so you get further. Sketchbook says he didn't care for any of the handheld Mario Karts. I know her name is Ultraviolet, but if her color is... But if her color is supposed to blind me, it's working.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by that, by saying the handheld tracks got silly. Maybe in 7, the handheld tracks were silly and relied more on luck than skill. The handheld tracks in Mario Kart DS are some of the most solid tracks in the whole series. Heavily skill-based. They're, like, anybody who's a really good Mario Kart player usually likes the tracks from DS. And when they re-show up in the series, they tend to be the favorite ones to play on. That and 64. Moo Moo Farms, I think is the name of it. Or Moo Moo Ranch, I can't remember what the translation is. But that one's a favorite track from 64. But 7, it has a lot of goofy tracks. I'll admit that. We had a lot of goofy tracks too, like the man. I actually rage quit once. Okay, Rick, you want to hear a story?
Sure, why not?
I had never played Mario Kart Wii yet. This was the first time I ever played it. I was at a summer camp with my church, right? So everybody there was all churches and everything, and they had like this little. There was like a tournament competition thing going on the whole time. So we had a free roam during the day. But then there was also like teams that you're broken down into, and there was all kinds of activities that you were doing to earn up points. And there was a video game night. Yeah, Moo Moo Ranch. Yeah, so there was a video game night, and one of the games that we played was Mario Kart. And everybody who wasn't on my team from my church was scared. Because they've played Mario Kart with me before at like youth nights and stuff like that. And most of the people on my team, other than the couple that I happen to randomly be with from my group, had no idea. But they trusted my group and they told me to go up there. And I grabbed this thing. I even had a GameCube controller on me, but I didn't know we'd be playing GameCube, or like a game that would use GameCube controllers that night. It was back in my suitcase. Don't ask me why I would bring a GameCube controller to a summer camp.
Too much choking?
It's like, maybe somebody will have Smash Brothers. But they put me up there, and I was so far in the lead that I lapped half the people. but it was at the mall. I don't know if you've ever played Mario Kart, but there was a mall in there, right? I think it's Toad Mall or something like that. And at the very end of the map, it's like leaving the mall. There's like a parking lot and stuff, and there's a bunch of Miis in cars driving back and forth, weirdly against the grain of the road. It's like, this is not how cars work. But there's supposed to be obstacles for you. And I was taking the turns really tight, and at the very last second, the game RNG'd the car into me. Even though I should have clearly passed it, and it bumped me backwards. And I just got so mad at that I set the controller down and went from first place to 12. I just walked away from the controller, even though the only people that had passed me at that point were computers. So as far as, like, the whole competition was concerned, I still could have gotten the most points. But I pretty much just, like, rage quit and walked away. Like, this is ridiculous!
Dylan says he has a trophy in his buddy's barbershop for Crash Team Racing too.
Oh, that's cool. I never really got into Crash Team Racing. I played the original one, but they are fun games. I know there was a recent one that was made. I don't remember I think it was like a remaster of the original, but it was remastered well enough, it's pretty much a new game. Like, it controls even better. He says the DS tracks that were added to the Wii and Mario Kart 8 had a bunch of silly jumps that you can't navigate your cart until you land. Oh, no, that was in most of the tracks. The thing is, most skilled players like those jumps because you hit them intentionally at the right angle and you get boosts and they put you into good positions. They're actually a skill thing to do. It's not RNG. It's just if you don't understand how the mechanic works, it feels like you're just lucking into the position you're going into. No, I love those jumps. Those are great. The 7 also added the glider mechanic, which a lot of people like, because it added even more jumps and put you in the air, and you could control your trajectory. The glider mechanic's in the new one, too, but I'm not a super big fan. Unless I'm over some type of pit or something where the glider is required. Most of the time, I just bring it straight down to the ground as fast as possible, because I could go faster by drifting and snaking and stuff like that. Actually, a funny story, too. Buck, right? I don't know if he's watching this or not. He might be into something else at the moment. But Buck thought you could play Mario Kart because he only ever really played with his family before that, and the few times he played with us, like my group, items were on, right? And when there's a bunch of people with a bunch of items, it's so crazy that it somewhat mitigates skill. But he never drifted. He didn't use drifting at all, and he played a heavy character where drifting is even more important than if you're playing a light character. And I was trying to explain to him that, like, if you want to be good at this game, you have to drift. And he was like, no, I do perfectly fine. So then, just to show him how much of a difference it made, I told him to hop into the game with me, and I turned items off. And we only played one race. After I lapped him, he's like, okay, I understand what you mean now. Pod Racer was a great game. I love Pod Racer.
Sketchbook says, like, yeah, I hate gliders.
Yeah, the gliders are a fun mechanic for, like, families and stuff, people who don't play video games. Maybe, like, you want your mom and dad to play or something. It's not a very good mechanic for anything skill-related. You just take it down to the ground and start drifting again. My biggest problem with 8 Because you don't play Mario Kart without items. Even the best players, Mario Kart, it's not like Smash Brothers. You want the items on. The older games, the items were more balanced. If you have a good enough lead, a blue shell isn't going to mess you up. The problem with 8 is it's added so many items that it doesn't matter what lead you have. Which is why I think Sonic All-Stars Racing Transform is a much better kart game, because it's got like all the stuff you like about Mario Kart, but everything is more balanced. The items are still fun, they're still dynamic, they can help, but they don't make or break the game. What about the battle mode in the original? Yeah, I've played it. I've played the battle mode in all of them. Well, all the ones that have battle mode. 8 didn't really have a battle mode. They kind of added one in, but it's not the same. But 64, I thought, had the best battle mode, because it had like the block fort, all these like layered maps that were really cool. It had the donut. The donut was probably the best battle map because it was just a circular track with a pit of lava in the middle. Yeah. Twisted Metal is a good series. Make your own racing routes in 2.
I'm not. As you can tell, I never really got into the racing games. Well, actually, there's a couple that I played a lot. One for the PlayStation. Well, actually, I got into Road Rash a fair bit. And there's another one that I got into, a car racing one. On the PlayStation. But you can't remember what it is at the moment. But
you actually would. I have another funny story too. I actually met one of the programmers for Wave Race 64, which is a jet ski game, and it's like the most random experience that you get. Right? It was when I was in college, because I went down to Waco, Texas, for college, and I would take the Greyhound back up to the Dallas area every other weekend or so, and all the way up, a dude sat next to me, and he was like this kind of like middle-aged man, a little out of shape and stuff, and he starts talking to me, which I didn't mind. I always like talking to people on those trips. You meet a lot of interesting people, and this is one of the cases. And he started talking to me about what he did now, and he pulled like these little bars out, and he was a silver trader. Like he bought and sold silver. He didn't really deal much with normal currency because he's like, there's no value in it. I get money when I need it by selling the silver, and then I sell stuff I don't need anymore for more silver. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. This is a good conversation. Like halfway through the conversation on the way back, I would say like an hour in, he starts saying, he's like, I used to be a video game designer back in the 90s. And he was specifically, he was a programmer. He did like the physics in the engine. And he was talking about Wave Race 64. He's like, you ever played that? I was like, oh yeah, dude, I loved that game growing up. And we just started talking about that. It was a very interesting dude. I wish I had exchanged contact information with him to get him on like my show or something. He was a cool guy. I don't know if you'd be able to get him onto a show because I don't know if he has a phone or anything. He just seemed to be like a nomadic traveler. And he was even talking about how I think he lived down in Mexico for a while on the beach. House on the beach that was abandoned. But nobody ever bothered him. He was like, what do they call them?
Squatter?
Squatter, yeah. He was squatting in the house. But nobody kicked him out, and there's no squatters' rights in Mexico, especially beachfront property because it's so valuable. And when he was on the beach and talking to somebody one day, he was wondering why nobody bothered him in that house or anything like that. Nobody lived around here. And it's because they said that the house was haunted, and so was half the beach. Which made him remind him of a conversation that he tried to have with a little girl on the beach wearing white. And the girl just did not respond to him, and when he turned around and looked back, she was gone. So it's like a ghost story that he was trying to tell. And it was just very interesting. Like, man, I wish I had your contact information. You're a cool guy. You meet all the most interesting people on Greyhound buses.
Let's see. Sketchbook says, Road Rash, Rick, you did it yourself. That's from the Sega Genesis. It was also on the 3DO as well. Elric says, oh, I love that Road Rash, especially when you go off track, just exploring the game. That's if you don't crash. I don't think... Could you go off track in Road Rash?
Oh, I don't remember.
Not the first one, anyway.
I've been a Road Rash, but it's been a long time.
And Timothy's talking to me about the car game and says, that narrows it down. It might have been Gran Torino.
No, I love Gran Torino. That's a good series.
I think it was like number 4 or something like that. I was playing.
Or Gran Turismo, not Gran Torino.
Gran Turismo.
Gran Torino is a movie and a car. Gran Turismo.
I think, anyways. Like I said, I could be wrong. That was a motorcycle racing game. Right, yeah. They made 3 or 4 Road Rashes, so... Yeah, they were Road Rash on PS1, Road Rash, 3D.
I liked Ridge Racer. Ridge Racer was a fun game. I've always been a variety gamer, so I've always been into like a really wide range of different games.
Sketchbook
And
says,
so it's like I had a love for racing games like any other game type I've played.
he says, dude, I have all the old Gran Turismo's games, even got my kid into cars with that. Cool. Yeah, and don't quote me on it for sure that that's the game. I think that's what it is, but I could be wrong. I'll probably try and find out for tomorrow.
Yeah, Ridge Racer is one of the best arcade racing series.
But I think the main problem is for racing games and all that, I don't really like playing them because I find they don't really respond well to the controller. Especially not like a real game or whatever.
It depends what kind you're playing, though, right? Because there's more that are sim, right, which are curtailed to be more realistic, and then there's arcade, which aren't trying to be realistic in their controls. They're just trying to give you a racing experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to remember. I looked into why I don't get those anymore. Oh, it's because Bandai Namco doesn't like making money. That's why.
Okay, I think I'm somewhat close to done for that. I gotta do the edge thing like till it suggests it.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
There's another racing game that I used to like, but it's not around anymore, is Cruisin' USA. And the reason that was not around, that was like an arcade-only one. I don't know if it ever got a console release, but it's not around because it was made by Midway, and Midway kind of ceased being a company in 2006.
So what do you think, Metal?
Let's see. I had to wait for it to catch up on YouTube because your screen is blurry in Hangouts.
As usual.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say that looks like probably 110% better than most of the time that you color your drawings. If that's the level of input that's okay for you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of old Midway games that I miss. That we're not going to get new ones anymore because they don't exist.
Yeah, well, this guy, I'm gonna have to. Our thing looks pretty good.
I think some of the properties were bought though, so you might see them again if there's a demand for them, and the company who bought the property rights wants to make money. Hydro Thunder's great too. Yeah, I miss that. Did anybody pick that one up? I would love to see Hydro Thunder come back. Microsoft owns Hydro Thunder now? Okay, so that's really we're only going to see it back if there's a public demand for it.
Or somebody
No, there's definitely a good emulator. What's it called? Even just the normal version of MAME, like the updated one that plays more modern arcade games, can play it no problem. Yeah, MAME is great for anybody who is looking to emulate arcade games.
Yeah, I haven't played any mains lately. I should get a new main or main. Although it's hard to find video games, the ROMs or whatever you want to call them. Sometimes, or the specific ones that you want.
Yeah.
Hydro Thunder is on the 360 and plays one of my favorite arcade games.
See, I'm never getting a Series X though. That's the big problem. Or an Xbox One. I don't plan on buying an Xbox ever again. Unless I'm going back to buy an original Xbox to play old Xbox games.
Okay, so...
But I will buy Microsoft games because most of their new stuff is just available on PC. Yeah, because I have a computer that's strong enough to play the new stuff. and I don't care about the backwards compatibility enough to get the old Xbox consoles. It's not that I have anything particularly against Xbox, but it's like, if I could play it this way, why would I play it the other way?
Yeah.
I already have this machine. Yeah. Right now, and I've never really been one of the people who participate in the console wars. I mean, my family growing up had always been a Nintendo family, but then we picked up PlayStation when it came out too. Never really into Sega, but I liked playing Sega games. I would just go to other people's houses to play them. I've never, I guess, been partisan to a console.
Yeah, same here. Well,
but consoles are expensive, and I was always poor. That's why we ended up being a single brand household.
Yeah, same here. And then, growing up, especially back when it was just, I shouldn't say, when it was Sega and Nintendo, it was, Sega was your sports, if you were really into sports, they had more than sports games, but if you were really into sports...
Yeah, but if you were sports and fighting games, back in early Sega, that's where you went.
But if you just wanted pretty much all the other types of games, you went to Nintendo.
But, for the most part, though, they were pretty comparable. Like, they had enough of each of the different genres.
Yeah.
That, if you had one, you could get enough of your fix, right? Like, Final Fantasy, for the most part, was on Nintendo, but Sega had Phantasy Star, so you could still get your RPG fix and stuff like that.
Yeah, they
were really head-to-head competing with each other pretty well.
Yeah. I guess it's just that with, Sega made the better sports games, where Nintendo seemed to make the better, other types of games.
Well, yeah, and Elric brings up Nintendo was still a family console. Sega let you have blood on their system. So if you wanted to play Mortal Kombat, which version were you going to play?
Yeah.
Or was it Street Fighter? If you want to play Street Fighter, which version are you going to play? The thing is, the Super Nintendo sound card was so much better. There are some games that sounded better on the Sega just because they were optimized for it, on like Genesis and stuff like that. But Nintendo just had the better sound card on average. So you're probably going to get better music in your game on Nintendo than you were in Sega. And they were like, yeah, that's the problem too with Street Fighter. Like, everybody wanted it because it was the hardcore version. But it was so much easier to play Street Fighter with 4 buttons and the, what's it called, the bumpers, the left and right trigger, instead of having to, hold select to get the other 3 buttons.
Yeah.
I think that's also just in general why I prefer, because I would still play like the Saturn and Genesis and stuff over at friend's house, but I just preferred the Super Nintendo because the controller made more sense to me. Especially for really active games like platformers and adventure games and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, you gotta remember the Genesis was also created when Nintendo only had a 2-button controller too. So
Yeah, because it was an in between.
yeah,
You know, and they often did that. They kind of went back and forth on generations. They never really launched at the same time. The 360 was the NES of its generation. I don't know. I guess in most parts, maybe for gaming, but that's when it decided to work. There was this big problem with the 360 that everybody's kind of aware of, where they used a low-grade solder that couldn't handle the internal heat of the system. And if you had your 360 on its side, most people didn't have this problem. It's those who left it upright. If you left it upright and it got hot, the parts would slightly slide out of place, and you'd end up with the red ring of death. Which is also why, for the most part, they would just send the exact same 360 back to you, because they just soldered the things right back into place where they belonged. And you would end up with a repeat process. Some people ended up sending their 360 in like 4 or 5 times and getting the same one back. And it would work for a while, but then it would heat up and you'd get the red ring of death again.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so I know you probably got to catch up. I got some of the siding, not all the colors, but the 2 main colors. Well, I did got that side, the airbrush to make it not so hard of an edge. What do you think now?
Well, zoomed out, I really can't tell the difference that much. Like if you zoom in, it'll make more of a difference, but zoomed out, the cell's going to be a cell.
Yeah.
If it feels better to you, that's fine.
Yeah,
that is the better way to do it, if you're going to do it. I think most people, it's like, in general, cell shading is an easier style to pull off.
They're zoomed in. Yeah, so I did.
Yeah, I think the reason the 360 did so well is the reason the PlayStation 2 did so well. And it's just the library, right? Like, PlayStation 2 is, I think, the second best, because I think the DS passed it up. But if you're not including handhelds, it is like the best-selling console that ever existed. And one of the reasons is just its massive library, specifically like its fighting game and Japanese RPG library.
And I hate to do it, but it is 12:01. So, anything you would like to promote, Metal?
Well, I had a vomitorium earlier today, which you can check out. I haven't finished uploading it. I need to, but it'll be on like all the podcast places, or even the replay on the YouTube probably works better than watching it live. But what was it? Oh yeah, I'll be on the Matriarchy on Matt Reese's channel tomorrow. So I guess I would say check that out, but maybe just check the replay because I don't want to take Cross's views. I think it's going to be at like the same time.
Well, he starts like an hour before me. He goes like an hour.
Well, he said 7 Mountain Time, which is going to be 9 your time.
Yeah, and I start at 10, so like I said, an hour before.
So it does. I think it's going to go a little bit longer.
Yeah, than an hour. Obviously,
there's going to be some overlap. You can leave early. You know.
Thanks for Metal coming on. Thanks for everybody in the chat. And no, Alric, 12 a.m. That's what it is for me. I don't run on California time. Everybody else might be, but I don't. So not everybody does. Anyways, thanks everybody in the chat for coming by, participating. Remember to be here tomorrow night. Yeah, you don't want to miss tomorrow night because tomorrow night is the launch of the coloring book. Hopefully some of you will have the money to buy tomorrow night. So we'll catch you tomorrow. Especially with that stimulus check that you guys are all getting slowly but surely. That $600 bucks.
Maybe. Who knows? Mine hasn't come yet.
So we'll catch you all later. Bye for now. God bless. Love you all. Have a great and wonderful night, day, whatever it is for you.